Hi, I'm David. I'm a product manager here at British Systems. It's been a whole 10 years, a whole decade since the Industry 4.0 term was coined. So I think it's a good time to look back and see what it was. So the first question to ask is, what was it? I'm not going to give you a graphic of what all the different revolutions were. The British renamed Industry 4.0 as the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And so we had, if you Google the subject, you'll see lots of graphics of all the different revolutions. But the easiest way to answer what it is to say what it wasn't. It wasn't a revolution, and it wasn't a technology revolution. Mainly because you can only have revolutions looking back at time, and clearly it was a bit of a marketing buzzword, and the graphic of all the different revolutions and the concept of a revolution really did turn a lot of people off the subject. So what was it? Actually, it was a reflection of the change in people, what people were focusing on, what technologies they were using. It was a bit of a wake-up call to the manufacturing and engineering communities, communities that were quite siloed, either by their industry that they were in. Even the world of manufacturing, it's based upon lots of different types of manufacturing. I specialise in electronic assembly manufacturing, but there's so many other industry sub-industries or sectors out there, and we all sort of keep to ourselves. So there was a lack of progression that we were seeing in the actual technology, really the software space, that wasn't filtering into the manufacturing and engineering areas. So really it's our observation of change. But there is a link to technology, because there's a one-to-one relationship between people and technology. The technology that's used is used by the people that want to use it. And this was a bit of a change, because what we had to appreciate is technology was becoming fashionable. Certain generations were wanting to use certain technologies, and other people like me that wanted to use the technologies that I cut my teeth in, really. And so we have to appreciate that what we offer to our employees, our customers, how we do our business needs to be fashionable, and that's a new challenge to have, because we're starting to have situations where legacy software is purely legacy because there is a lack of engineering talent out there to maintain it. The banking industry is well known for this problem. So technology is fashionable. People like to be using the latest and greatest. So that's something to consider when you're going to the jobs boards, for example, when you're promoting recruitment. So this is this slide goes back to like 2012 and saying the difference and the change of job title. So if you see in the 1980s, there was a lot of software engineers, and that little dark stub is really reflecting the growth of the internet, the start of the internet in the late 90s. And then we saw the 2000s onwards, where we had the dot-com bust, or bubble and bust. But really this was a big push towards web development. And web developers are essentially software developers. And so the major timelines to the right there. The iPhone came along also, which again gave a bit of a push towards mobile development. That was based upon apps, so the concept of apps reappeared 7 years later. And then we had the Industry 4.0 buzzword, which a lot of people got confused about. What's the difference between software engineers and software developers? Well, I have to create a one-liner for this, and a lot of people will disagree with this, especially today. I mean, this is 2012. Now we're talking many years later. Software engineer, they start with a blank page with a programming language, and they start with requirements set by the company they work for. Quite simple as that. A very convenient, very convenient for a situation where you're in a siloed environment where you're not really being influenced by other industries or other people that work similar jobs but just in a different company. Software developers, they start to use tools, frameworks, platforms, libraries. Clearly they're many years later, and so they benefited from the natural progression of change, and they're starting to use software that is created by other people in the world. And obviously if you're going to take that software, is very much encouraged to give back. So you have a community that's forming there, and again you get organic links to other communities. IT professional, generally they configure software, so they're known as they're maintaining your internal systems, your business information systems. And now today we have things called DevOps, which are a mix between software developers and IT professionals. So the software developers have to deploy what they make into the world, and therefore they are, rather than winging it over the fence to get someone else to do that process, everyone is part of the chain and everyone understands what other people are doing in the chain, so we can help each other. I struggle with these sort of presentations because what I'm about to talk to you about is pulling in lots of different things from different directions, and so I just want you to consider these kind of business keywords: recruitment, collaboration, ownership, and the silver tsunami. Silver tsunami is a term that's used in my industry at the moment. Electronic assemblies, very much aligned to technology generally. There's going to be a big retirement of a group of people, and I'm already detecting that in some other industries, purely software industries, of issues that are occurring as a large group of people are retiring. Anyway, recruitment, collaboration, and ownership are many benefits that come from the Industry 4.0 revolution. But it's all organic, and you have to understand that I'm not here to say do this and then this will happen. These are all kind of cultural things you have to inject into your business. So here's a case study. Here's the kind of the extreme case study of a typical business. I've worked for this kind of business before, so I know it quite well. So a group of software engineers. Again, we've talked about software engineers before. I'm talking about software engineers in 2012 and before. I'm not talking about software engineers today. Again, all this time has moved on and certain things have changed in that time. You got a leader that's the go-to. So the top of the management of the company are probably sales-based people. They want a return on investment. They want to listen to voice of customer and all this kind of stuff. Essentially, they have had to adopt technology into their business because that's the world we live in now, but they're not necessarily a CTO, for example. So they rely on this leader, this brains character. He's the guy that's been around for 20 years and he's leading the troops. Sales-based product roadmap, so everything they do is based upon something the customer is asking them to do, voice of customer. Located on an industrial estate, and what this is really summarizing is a siloed effect. Okay, again, this is about people, this is about organic chatter between your employees and other employees in another company, and so the industrial estate creates that siloed effect. And the reality is that company is probably trading internationally, so they've got another siloed effect on top of that, which means that the companies on the industrial estate might not be talking to each other either. Recruitment is outsourced, so that's a bit of a flag. How are you having recruitment problems, and can Industry 4.0 solve these problems by bringing people externally but not directly working from you? Common drivers to change. Okay, so the management really need to know, why are we making this change? So these are the common drivers, and again we're talking about 2012 versus today, so some of you will already be on this path. Some of you will already be exposing your systems to other systems using data. But of course, we've got the trends again of the Internet of Things. But it's important to highlight there that it doesn't have to be on the internet. It can be the edge. It can be internally. What we used to call the intranet, and what we used to call on-premise software.
Well, the funny thing is, for years, people said, well, we don't want the cloud. We don't want to go back to the cloud. This is what we got away from with personal computers. We got our own computer. I don't have to do time sharing. I don't want a dumb terminal on my desk.
So next year, we're going to start seeing it go back
to the edge.
Are we? That's the
Stacy on IoT side of this.
This is not me just marketing. It's
computing at the edge.
Yeah.
I think this is the beginning of the computing at the edge.
Local is cool again.
So little processors all over your house. You know, if I were to coin a term, I'd say computing at the edge, something like that.
Okay.
I think ambient's better, but yes.
Okay.
Or the Internet of Things. Should we call it that?
IoT.
But generally, the themes are going to be monitoring, control, escalation. Just interactions, both to support people, but also systems. So your opportunities, and these have been the opportunities for many years now, which is to essentially do a bit of outsourcing, but in a way that it isn't your entire solution, product, or code base. And it's called the digital economy. It's basically the people that created the .com industry. They're out there. There's a lot in this area. There's they're called digital agencies, 100+ of them. They generally, in the past and today, they work with the marketing efforts of other companies. So again, marketing departments have outsourced their needs to these companies, and these companies have created the culture and the work environment that some of these trendy, these often graduates are appealing to. And I would suggest you partner with someone local to you first, because then you can perfect the communication between the two companies. But then I would also encourage you to work completely remotely. The latest COVID situation has really pushed and said we need to be working remotely, and we need to remove those. They're nice to haves, we all need the human reaction, but actually if we say, okay, we are completely remote, then it highlights a whole world of improvements we can make to our business. What this is not is software development outsourcing that happened in the year 2000s. That was a trend where entire products, code bases and offices were moved remotely. So India was a good example. But what they were doing in that situation was completely transferring all your issues to another office, and only saving the wage bill, essentially. Those that did it well were the people that had their own local management go out to these offices. Those that failed had management below the top management that didn't buy into it, and gradually it just failed. A lot of this software development outsourcing was triggered by high level management, and this is why the Industry 4.0 movement in my world, in my factory, in my electronic assembly factory, it was all about batch size 1, meaning one product. You can put a product through your line and you can efficiently change that line over for that one product. So I guess what you're probably asking is like, what's the first step? That was always the problem with when Industry 4.0 first came along, is everyone was looking at each other going, well, what do we do then? Give me an example. This is all about people, as I said before. So the first things to do is to actually look within. If you haven't started your journey towards data and monitoring and control and all that kind of stuff, talk to your IT team. Your IT team already do data, and they do it internally. But again, when you've create those bubbles within companies where you've got the R&D department over there, and you've got the IT team working off the business tools team, the operations team, sorry. They don't talk to each other because you believe that they do one thing and then we do another. Well, actually, it goes back to kind of understanding what your people do, are interested in, what their skill is. Talk to your IT team. Go to seek signposting to agencies and people in your area. That's going to be that's still a challenge today. We need the next thing on the list, which is challenges. We need a reason to bond with each other, a reason to collaborate with each other. So technical challenges, which are really problems, and it's really difficult to walk up to a company and say what are your problems, because one, either they don't know their problems, they believe in the status quo, they find it's fine as it is, or they're just too embarrassed to say here's our problem. So we call them technical challenges. Essentially, it's something you want done but you can get other people to do. Really highlighting the people side of this once again, and the concept that this comes from the roots of your company, not the top level management. Give junior members of staff the ability to run micro projects. So I worked for a company that for many years wasn't admitting that we weren't doing innovation, and finally we were given 20% time, and that gave those that wanted it the opportunity to do some innovation projects. You did in that situation have people believing that they had proper work to do and innovation work to do, and that's another culture thing you have to try to make everyone understand. This final point is a really major point, because clearly, so encourage culture, encourage visibility within your business, and use your website. Your website traditionally was just the marketing tool of your company. It was at the very basic level, it was here's your products and here's the contact us information. Your website really needs to be the center of your business and the visibility point of everyone around it. Okay, if you attend a trade show, the people at a trade show very few of them will be in a sales situation. They will not wanting to buy. If you put something on your website and someone Googles it, the likelihood is they're in a sales mentality at that point. They want to buy something, and that's what we've had big achievements with. But just making sure that your employees have access to that website, maybe a sub website or subdomain, just give them access to it and allow them to be visible themselves, because there will be people working within your company who will want to be good at visibility. They want to promote themselves essentially, and that's what we have a lot in the digital economy. A lot of people that are good at self-PR, and that's why they're promoting themselves. Next step is a technology step. Creating an interface or creating some way that other companies or other innovators can come along and use and tap into your product or service or factory. I mean, if it's a factory, we're talking about simple things like signaling a request of getting something made. So today, for example, a lot of my suppliers, I'm only interacting with them via their website. I'm uploading the data, I'm paying for the product, and then I'm pressing go. Unfortunately, I'm not doing the same from my UK suppliers. I'm still using emails. I'm still being bounced from one account manager to another when they leave or when something happens. It's not a great experience, and yet the ones across the world, it is a great experience. It's a friction-free experience. As I've tried to hint, use web-based technologies for interfaces. Use the web browser. I've created this presentation that you're watching today using a web browser. I haven't installed any other software, and pretty much 85% of what I do today is using the web browser. That is a big sign that you should be using that technology. And going back to that trendy point at the beginning, there's a lot of people that now work in the browser. But remember, it doesn't have to be the internet, it could be the edge. So seek collaboration opportunities, again signposting from other people. Consider just one-man bands, so consider freelancers, consider a son or daughter of one of your employees as a test case. It's all about play. This innovation is about play. It's not about you do this and then you get that. That's not innovation, and that sells. Avoid do it yourself. The temptation when you want something changed, well, do it the easy way. You got brains on board, you got someone on board, and they can do it in-house. Try to just think of that project that you can do, that you can just use as a test case to use to partner with someone externally local to you, and therefore you've not got a recruitment problem anymore because you're using external skills and resources. Why hasn't it happened? Well, first of all, it wasn't a strategy from our UK government, it was a German strategy. It took a long time to complete the industrial strategy. I'm not actually sure where we are on that actually.
Hopefully the emergence of a political coalition and a government that address the true challenges of the country, of which, by the way, as I constantly say, the forthcoming technological revolution is the single biggest challenge we face, and no political party in this country is yet even addressing it.
We've already had distractions from Brexit, COVID and wars. Funding though, and we'll come on to that in a minute, aims. There's lots of distraction with funding at the moment. Emphasis on technology, which cause confusion. Disruptive technologies. So rather than say create some technologies that are going to support an industry that we already have, the government and the government's agencies at arm's length realised that the money was going to come from the private sector, and they realised that the private sector, especially the venture capitalists and all those kind of people, want to completely disrupt an industry. Well, my view is let's make supportive technologies. Let's help the industries that are already out there, and that's what my business is there to be. There's a lack of understanding with collaboration and innovation, and that's really down to culture. The biggest push I had, seeing that all this resource was out there but the manufacturing and engineering communities weren't using it, is seeing product managers being constrained by their politics and their hierarchies. And so this was an opportunity for a product manager, project manager, basically a middle management to seek external resource and therefore get something done. Something small, something simple. The last one, education. There's been a limited amount of signposting from business support agencies, and the reason is a lot of these business support agencies also are part of the bubble of the industry that they're trying to represent. So there's a lack of cross industry signposting. It goes back to simple networking really, but we do need a few companies that are on both sides of the fence, who are happy to work with each other, who are happy to give the test concept of it. So what should have happened? Well, as I've already explained, mature businesses there needing a modernisation. There's a young business there wanting, quite often, just like me, an engineer who's worked in the industry for a long time, realises there's opportunities to create modern technologies, and then they would want to sell it back to the industries that they've come from. Simple as that. So there's a level of signposting, networking, and when you have that partnership, when you finally have that partnership, there will be money out there, support money out there. And that's another thing that the mature businesses have to understand, is that they don't actually have to pay for this. The government is more than happy to pay for innovation-based projects, and the triangle of mature business, startup business or young business, and funding and industries, that like makeup is perfect, because you know you're going to get success rather than this so-called disruptive technology that doesn't go anywhere. But it is in the spirit of innovation, because it could potentially lead you on to something else. So if we don't do anything now, and obviously I'm talking to you now in 2022, and this is from 2012, so a lot of this has already changed organically anyway. The opportunity, again, in my industry is the silver tsunami, which is the retirement of a lot of people, and therefore big change. And I'm seeing that as an opportunity, mainly because I want to be positive about it. There are lots of negatives about that and concerns, but if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. The biggest change in this retirement schedule is that this is based upon technology. So there's been someone who's been working in the industry for 40 years and they're going to retire. Well, there's going to be a massive hole, and the technology itself is only 30 years old. So this is a big change of the situation, and it might be a positive one, might be negative, but I'm going to say as an opportunity, because it will naturally flush out people and get people to be promoted, not in a company sense, but just, you know, stand up and we need to help these industries. Other opportunities are just focuses on other things, and we can bundle this into other things, and I think that's realistically that's what's going to happen, because I speak about Industry 4.0 and everyone just switches off, and I know why they do, because of everything I've spoken to you about already. You know, the describing every single revolution, talking about technology rather than people, not getting down to the bare basics of just running a good business. This now leads me on to what we've done and how we've executed the Fourth Industrial Revolution, Industry 4.0 in our product. So no one told us to create this product. We saw an opportunity, and it was just an opportunity to upgrade some legacy equipment that had a legacy interface to a new communication standard. What do we do first? We created a website, a very basic brochure website. Some would say we faked it until we made it. We did it by accident though, because we had that concept of visibility. Everything we do is on a website. If you need to ask what we're doing, then the likelihood is we just haven't uploaded it yet, but we're going to upload it. But everything goes on the website. Every part of the focus in our company is on the website. And it's a real shame when I speak to, for example, startup businesses, and I say to them, what are you doing? I don't know. I go to your website, it says nothing. You know, again, the culture of a website has to go from the marketing effort or the sales effort of your company to a source of information. It has to be the place to go. So we created the website, and the equipment manufacturer came along and says, oh, I want to buy one of them. And so we thought, we need to make this thing then. We had a prototype by that stage, and it's we call it SMEMA Hermes adapter. The SMEMA is the new standard. Sorry, Hermes is the new standard, and SMEMA is the old legacy standard, and it just upgrades existing equipment, or even like in many situations actually it was suppliers of brand new equipment. They just didn't want to deal with all the software headache that you would have to deal with. So tick box of the Industry 4.0 kind of things we did. So to set up the product, to monitor the product, to interact with the product, you go via the web browser. So at that point, we were able to create a user interface that was designed and developed by a local freelancer, local to our business. And so immediately we've got employee number one, because they're now starting to be part of our business. They understand our business, but they can also go and work on whatever they normally work on, other businesses. So that was an organic connection. Software interfaces was a RESTful API, which is a API based on a URL. which is the www URLs you have on a website. So that means it's, again, I can say to anyone in the digital economy, there's my product, there's the interface, can you go and interact with it, or can you go and push it to the cloud? Because at the moment, we don't do any cloud-based software. It's all with Edge, and so if I need to ask someone to create a connection to the internet, I can do that pretty easily. Publications, I've already spoken about the website. We have multiple of them, and by creating multiple websites, not only does it create an information point, not only do our customers know that the information on our website is the up-to-date version. There is not some random shared drive in our company where the information is put that the R&D department use, and then it gets passed over to the sales department, and they create their own little marketing brochures, and then it finally gets uploaded to the website by someone who's just told to upload it. So there's no real thought in it. These are multiple websites that are search engine optimized, meaning that if you type in a keyword now, the likelihood is you're going to find our website. And that means that every customer that we've dealt with so far has started the email saying, I found your product by Googling it. And so we've not had to spend any considerable money on marketing or sales. And I would love to collaborate with someone locally, because at the moment all our customers are kind of Central Europe. But what I've been waiting for is to collaborate with someone locally. So if you want my contact details, they're now on the screen. And thank you very much for watching this presentation today.